As you can see from the title, we're going to discuss about that latest Chainsaw Man manga chapter. I've seen so many people calling it problematic, dirty, unethical, and a disgrace to the fanbase. Not a few people have come out to defend the work, claiming that Tatsuki Fujimoto's writing has always been bizarre and those who are calling him out need to move on from the series. It's unusual for me to take sides in this type of petty drama, but I can see that the latter being the correct one in this case. Most of my friends and my mutuals enjoy the whole series as it is, no matter how problematic the series has gotten in recent months. But they could just see this type of scene coming from miles away, even from the days of part 1. So it's not as outrageous as what is being discussed in social media. As a warning, before we move on to the explanation, I would recommend you to read the latest Chainsaw Man chapter before watching the next part. If you haven't picked up the manga, then I suggest you start from all the way from the beginning. Then come back here when you're done. Now, let me yap about this. The one thing that made Chainsaw Man unique, popular, and got me hooked into the series was because it was meant to be crazy. One boy living in poverty then turns himself into a chainsaw. Funniest shit ever. But as the story progresses, especially in part 1, with the way Denji recklessly going up against any devil that the devil hunters are facing, especially when Denji went up against the Bad Devil and the Eternity Devil, I could see that Denji was set up for being the most bizarre main character ever. Then, the story started to go weirder and more chaotic. The Bomb Devil arc was quite exhilarating. The way Reze swayed him into having feelings for her, claiming that he was trying to save him, but eventually she was revealed to take away his heart, was a fantastic twist. But it was not as much of a rollercoaster as the International Assassins arc, where Denji was being hunted left and right and devil hunters were being pulled in every direction possible. The Gun Devil arc, when 80% of its form was displayed and caused chaos all over Japan, while Aki met his fate and in a very gut-wrenching fashion, and the Control Devil arc, when it was revealed that Makima was the Control Devil all along and had tried to capture Pochita this whole time. From the way Fujimoto drew the action scenes, the interactions between Denji and other characters, especially with power, the way Makima manipulated him, and even how Quanxi was presented, you knew that you were in for a wild ride. But of course, part 1 was a bit tuned down to fit into the magazine that it was published in. Chainsaw Man Part 1 used to be on the weekly Shonen Jump magazine, alongside other battle shonen series like Jujutsu Kaisen. The target demography of this magazine is young teenagers. So that's why no matter how weird, how peculiar and how chaotic Chainsaw Man Part 1 was, it was actually nerfed to cater to younger audiences and possibly wider fanbase, hence its popularity today. And then part 2 was where everything changed. Most people in the fandom have noticed the change of pace and the way of the world building in the second part of the series. Part 1 was like the series was on full throttle the whole time, having 7 espresso shots in a single go. But now, in part 2, Fujimoto is taking his time really well. Especially when Asamitaka was introduced as a new main character of the series. The first 2 volumes of the manga showed how Fujimoto was being more careful in building the world around her, which I eventually ended up really liking her character. But even when Asa met Yoru as the War Devil, the craziness hasn't started. Though some touches of bizarreness were there, they weren't as apparent as the previous part though. The chaos started when Asa finally got to know Denji. It was like 2 worlds colliding. From then on, we could see that Fujimoto was brewing the storm all along before it finally hit the series when the Chainsaw Man craze was destroying the city. Chaos, once again, has started. And all those bizarre scenes where Denji was yearning for sexual intercourse, Denji being butchered into parts, Nayuta being alienated for defending herself from being harassed, Asa and Fami breaking into a state facility, and many other freakish panels in the manga were just part of the build-up into the latest chapter that became the talking point in the past few days. And actually, there's more to it. See, Denji and Asa are just teens, bear that in mind. You know how unstable teenagers are and how unstable we used to be back then. They are longing for self-fulfillment. Asa wants to form a meaningful connection with someone, something that she hasn't made since childhood, and Denji wants to live life as regular people. He wants to eat, go out, watch movies, and make love, just like us. So that chapter is the culmination of both their desires of fulfillment. Asa finally got the chance to be more connected to Denji, and Denji, well, he was pleased with it. And notice how Yoru's card started to fade midway? That's Asa trying to take over the action. Though it ended up in a very bizarre way, they got a teaser of what they wanted, thanks to the bizarre build-up in the previous chapters. Also, it's a very normal occurrence in one of Tatsuki Fujimoto's works. I think those who have read his other manga will know that this type of storytelling is not uncommon. Let's revisit some of those. I haven't finished Fire Punch, so I will not mention it too much here, but damn, even from the beginning of it, it is very outlandish. It's good, but it's that weird kind of good. Not everyone's cup of tea, but if you enjoy it then you really appreciate it. But his other works, such as his collection of one-shots, are also equally outlandish. When I first picked them up, I was like, what the hell is he smoking when he wrote this, bro? His early one-shots were insane. You can see some of them in the Tatsuki Fujimoto Before Chainsaw Man compilation series. Niwa Tori Igaita was absurd, I don't know how to pronounce that. Like, the earth was crowded with aliens and the only humans to exist were two people wearing chicken hats? Sasaki Stop the Bullet was even wilder. You think that it's normal for someone to come into a classroom with a gun unchecked, then threaten a female teacher to perform an intercourse with him? Of course not. Or Nayuta the Prophecy, the non-direct origin of Nayuta as we know in Chainsaw Man. It's very crazy to see a man dying to protect a kid, which is a devil incarnate, from the whole society trying to kill him. And then suddenly the kid pulls off insane tricks and powers to fight the demonstrants. Or Love is Blind, the manga about two high schoolers trying to confess and prove their love for each other, getting interrupted by a mugger, then an actual alien lands in front of them. But then suddenly they are amazed by those two lovebirds and decide to get cooperative. I know, all of them are crazy. Probably the only sane works were Look Back and Goodbye Eri. Both are amazing and quite emotional, though some peculiar shit is also there in the latter. I haven't read, just listened to the song, but I assume it's equally emotional too. And it was an actually good decision to animate Look Back, since the sentimentality will garner new audiences to get to know Fujimoto's other works, instead of animating Love is Blind, right? By looking back at his portfolio, you can see that his bizarre storytelling has been there. It's been a recurring theme. You were lucky enough to see it being more exposed to wider audiences in the second part of Chainsaw Man. And that might be the reason why Chainsaw Man is now published under the Jump Plus rather than the weekly Shonen Jump. Fujimoto probably has planned that this part will be more explicit and more fitting to young adult audiences, so that he could feel more freedom in writing the story. Hence, the soft seinen demography fits more to the current state of Chainsaw Man. There's an origin to the wilderness of the recent Chainsaw Man manga chapter. It's because Fujimoto has been writing some comical and outlandish works from time to time. So I can see a little bit that Fujimoto might pull something like that chapter at some point, and something even wilder in the future. Well, now, if you see him as a problematic creator, you can just drop the series and move on. There are thousands of great series that may cater to your taste, and authors that are more tame than Fujimoto. But remember, as long as it's not an illegal media that you're enjoying, you're neither wrong nor problematic to enjoy it. So yeah, for those who don't mind with the chapter, let's just enjoy it as it is. You don't need to force anyone to like it either. And for those who despise it, just pick another series that suits you better. You don't need to go around telling others that their taste is wrong, and you will be more at peace. This has been Zima. See you when I see ya.